Noch jemand?
First of all, congratulations on the movie. I really enjoyed it. It was so entertaining. How close did you stick to the facts from all the Thor comics we know?
Well, my experience with the Thor comics is they're so vast that you can pull almost anything out of them. You know, there are issues where Thor is a frog if you go deep enough into the mythology. So I think we stayed close to a tone in the comics.
Yeah, it was a combination. You know, really we're building off of the original Thor film, the Avengers film, and carrying that story forward into this one. But characters like Malekith, some of the relationship issues between Jane and Thor and between Thor and Loki are certainly inspired by the comics as well.
I really like the Nordic mythology. How much do you know about that?
I hope there are no skill testing questions to follow, but when I started working on the film, I did a lot of research, especially into the visuals that go with it, the traditional imagery from the Norse mythology, Celtic mythology, Germanic mythology, because when we were designing Asgard, not just the ancient buildings that were there, but also the high-tech, the futuristic stuff, the force fields, we tried to draw on the imagery that comes from those cultures to sort of tie it into the whole God thing.
On the first film, we did a lot of research into it, and there are a lot of names, and there's a lot of backstory, and there's a lot of mythology, and we don't want to overwhelm the audience with too much of that stuff. So in the movies themselves, I think we're very sparing in how we connect the dots, but we wanted to know as much as we could, so we knew sort of what dots to connect for the audience.
But there's wonderful stuff in there. I mean, obviously the whole cosmology of Yggdrasil comes from there, and a world view where you know there's an ultimate battle coming called Ragnarok, and everything is sort of leading up to that, and the sort of dark vision of the world you get from that is all in the movie. And I know that Tom Hiddleston read a lot of the original myths to sort of ground himself in Loki, and has some wonderful things he quotes from there.
Of course, the creator of Thor and many other great comic heroes was in the movie.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
How do you come up with this stuff? Whose idea was the scene where Stan Lee suddenly appeared?
Well, it's become a great tradition for the Marvel Studios movies in particular to have Stan show up and give him a fun cameo. And what's amazing is, you know, when we started doing these cameos, there were some people in the audience that recognized him if they were comic fans, but now everybody recognizes him because of all the other films. So we always want to find a place where we can have fun with the audience. So it's not during a very serious moment that would perhaps take the audience out of the film and go, hey, there's Stan Lee. So we want to do it in a moment of fun, and I think it was during our additional photography period that we came up with the scene where Eric Selvig is explaining something, and very quickly thought it would be funny if we realized he was explaining it to a group of mental patients. Yes, with Stan Lee amongst them.
Ellen, did your experience from Game of Thrones help you with this movie? Like all the big sets?
Yeah, it was kind of critical to have that. Before that I was doing things like Sopranos and Mad Men and, you know, angry men in small rooms in suits, and I would never have been able to do this without the warm-up of sort of epic imagery and shooting, you know, on location and trying to create a fantastical world but make it feel real. All those things that Game of Thrones is very good at helped with this world as well.
Is there something you might take back to Game of Thrones, which you learned in this movie now?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. I hope I get a chance to go back and take something back. I wonder what it would be like. You know, I had to learn some things on this world that I'll have to forget when I go back. In Game of Thrones, we can't afford to shoot the green screen because it's too expensive. And when I came to Marvel and to Thor, I realized I had to shoot the green screen as much as possible. So if I go back, I'll have to remember the habit of turning the camera away from the expensive stuff. Yeah.
Kevin, how do you manage to work, I assume, like 6 movies at a time? And is there a supervillain you are very excited to see in the upcoming movies?
We have an amazing team at Marvel Studios of a very tight-knit brain trust. And there are individual executive producers that work and oversee on each individual film. So while we're not a very big team, we have enough people to oversee, yes, as you say, 5 or 6 movies in any various stages of production. And if you had asked me this question 3 years ago or 4 years ago about a supervillain, I would have said Loki. Loki was the one I absolutely wanted to see brought to the screen. In terms of going forward, there's a new villain called the Winter Soldier that is going to be in the next Return of the First Avenger film next year with Captain America, and I'm very excited to bring him to the screen.
Can you tell us some more details about that, or is it all secret?
Well, you know, we love our secrets, but we've just released the first trailer for the Return of the First Avenger, and he is in the modern day now, and it is very much a sequel to the Avengers film. And the things that are going to happen in this new film next year tie Avengers and Avengers: Age of Ultron together in a very, very important way. And I'm excited for people to see how Steve Rogers deals with life in the modern world, working alongside Black Widow and Nick Fury, and that, you know, seeing him now firmly put into the world of the Avengers.
Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
Have a great day in Berlin.
Thanks. Nice meeting you.